Hello, welcome to another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good.
Well, we've got our crop nutrients team in the podcast room today, so we're going to talk everything crop nutrients at Premier Ag. We've got Jeff Jarrett and Scott Sharp, so thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
And we're going to start off with the question of the day.
Question of the day.
Yep. If you were going to be in the Olympics, which sport would you pick to participate in?
I don't know why I'm laughing already. The thought of us being in the
Look
Olympics.
at us.
What are you talking about? All right. Jeff, why don't you go first?
Bobsled.
Bobsled.
Okay. All right.
Didn't they make a movie about the Jamaican bobsled team?
I was going to try out for their team.
All right. No way you're fast enough to be in.
That does seem like that would be the
I'm
least.
just going to ride.
You have to run beside it to get it started.
Oh,
They can't take off one guy in it.
you don't have to run that far, though.
Oh, okay. All right. I'd love to watch that. Scott, what do you have?
It'd have to be curling because that seems like that would be the least amount of work you would have to do in an Olympic sport.
You could also hold something in your left hand while you.
Yeah, see, you could drink beer and do that. So.
Because isn't that the definition of a sport?
Something you can do while you're drinking beer.
So classy. Classy.
I
Am I next?
Yes, that'd be
Okay.
awesome.
All right. Well, like Scott, I think I'd do croquet. I'm pretty sure
Is
that's
that an
about
Olympic
my.
sport?
Would I have said it if it weren't?
Maybe.
No.
You'd have like little white pants, little white shoes on, a whole bit.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's more. I think that's sort of my speed. So.
Yeah. Based on the cans I've seen in the side ditch around your house.
What? No, we're not going to go down that path. So,
I don't know. It'd have to be something low impact or energy. Oh, what's that thing with a ribbon where they run around with a ribbon? I could do that. Don't they do the dance or something?
you should know the name of the sport you're going to be
All right, bowling.
participating. Is that one?
I don't. Yeah.
Do you know that?
I'm still trying to get this mental image of Sal running around with a ribbon dancing.
Right. I just hope he
don't
was on
want that
camera when
image.
he demonstrated what he might be doing.
I can dance. I could look like
Wow,
Caddy,
second
like
time.
Caddyshack with the gopher.
Nice.
Well, Jeff, you picked the bobsled and luge. That's just basically the bobsled, except it's just bob. There's no luge.
Just one bob.
I thought about luge, but I was afraid somebody would ask me to spell it.
You didn't want any part of that.
I
huh?
can spell bobsled.
Bobsled, you're good with that. Huh? All right. Sounds good. Well, that failed miserably like I anticipated it probably would. So, and Scott's now Scott's headphones don't work. So, all right, say what you want to say about Scott quickly.
See that right there? Oh,
How did that happen?
apparently I moved around too.
Mismanagement.
He was practicing the
Curling.
Yeah, the curling.
And we're back. After a small break and technical difficulties because Scott can't manage his headphones.
If we cared more, we would edit all that out, but we're not going
I'd
to.
say leave it in. Sure. We might make an Olympic sport out of
Yeah,
that.
please do, because I'd like to hear what you said about me.
Yeah. We got Scott in a soundproof room. All right, get it out of your system.
Scott will be in the comments. You guys are jerks.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Well, anyway, we're off the Olympic sport thing, but I did look up obscure Olympic sports. Do you know poodle clipping?
It is not.
Wow.
I don't know. I think you can trust everything on the internet. It's what it said. I don't even know what that means, but
Cheerleading is going to be an Olympic sport. So there you go. You could be a cheerleader.
Is it really?
It is.
I think Sal with one of those ribbons would have been like an extreme sport, right? Wouldn't that be extreme?
Good sitting down.
That's not good. Okay, fertilizer. Tell us what you know.
It's not an Olympic sport.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
No, but it is a game of fortitude, mental fortitude.
Not for the weak.
Yeah, it's not.
That's true.
Okay. Tell us what you know. You have notes. You
That's
just showed up.
that is a
So
great- you got
We've
your
got one with
glasses.
notes, one with nothing. So the one with notes, go ahead and go, and then you can just shake your head if you agree.
Chime in.
Well, I was just afraid you guys were going to fact check me, so I thought I better bring some notes along.
Sal and I. We're just glad when people agree to be on here.
They can't disprove anything we say.
No.
That is true.
Now, after the fact, maybe, but certainly not today.
All right, we'll revisit
I've just
this.
never heard that lead in. Fertilizer, go.
And now. All right.
Fertilizer. We've got some.
Would you rather do weed control? I mean, we're throwing it out there. Hybrid seed selection. No. I mean, I thought you came prepared to talk about fertilizer. So in the beginning,
What do you want to know?
right? In the beginning,
What would you like to know?
how well are we positioned? What are prices going to do? How are the world events affecting them? And something you can't answer yes to.
We are well positioned. I think our audience would like to hear that we have seen some resets in these fertilizer prices. From where we've been the last couple of years. So we're starting to see things come back. We've seen some good resets on nitrogen, potash, phosphate. We still got some issues going on in the phosphate market. But I think the biggest thing that we're seeing this summer is we came out of spring and we have drained the system. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we ran out of urea. We were trucking urea in from Wilmington, North Carolina, and Alabama.
Alabama, yep.
The whole river system was out of urea as we finished up. So we did some unnatural things to get urea trucked in to finish out. But that's this summer that's causing some logistical issues as we start to fill back up, and we see some resets on price. And we saw urea reset nicely on price, but then everybody figured out we didn't have any. And then as the buying demand started, and we started to see those prices run back up. So we've got some things that are affecting it, mostly due to just emptying the system and having to reload. So, but that's kind of the start. You got
Yeah, and I mean, in the reset, I mean, you're looking, we got to where we were kind of numb to paying $1 a pound in for nitrogen. And, here we've got we had some fill UAN for folks that had storage. And, I mean, they were getting that sub 50 cents.
Wow.
So, I mean, you're talking about nitrogen costs going in half, at least currently now. Urea is kind of the outlier as far as, ammonia and UAN kind of followed that suit. Urea, yeah. Urea is fickle. I mean, it could be up $200 over the next 2 months, and then it could be down $250, so it's kind of hard to compare it.
I did look up UAN this summer reset about $200 less per ton than what it was a year ago. Just kind of put it in perspective. So, and urea, we're seeing this run up in urea. That's basically being driven by some of the global things that are going on. So the international market's driving that up. And while we don't have any real nearby demand, it's the demand that we have in the U.S. is for that upper Midwest and the Plains area where they're trying to reload with urea and buy urea to get barges up the river before the river closes. So you get into about the second week of October, and the Mississippi will close the barge traffic as far as barges being able to leave New Orleans and travel up to like the cities, Minneapolis, that area.
Because they won't, by the time they get up there, it'll
They
be
gotta
so cold.
Get up there and get back before they get iced in. So that's so we call that river close, which usually happens there around that second week of October, give or take.
Well, and a
depending
lot
on
of times
forecast.
they're wanting to also get the empties back.
Yeah, you got to get the empties out of there, and so that's and you don't want your boat trapped up there. So that's so river close is coming. That drives the upper part of the Midwest and the Plains area to buy urea. So they're in there trying to buy in this market. So that's added some demand to some pretty strong world pricing. So we've seen this urea market go up. So now what we'll do is we'll sit here and wait for river close, and we'll see if this market will soften back down before we take a position on urea.
Never really think about that down here. I mean, we're the Ohio never.
Ohio's open year round.
Yeah.
So different story when you get to the upper Midwest or upper Mississippi.
Is that the same every year? We wait for the upper Mississippi to close, and then we start with our field
That's
program.
Not always.
Not always. Sometimes we screw up and don't wait. That doesn't end well, does it? Scott?
No. But we were successful
We know. We've
in
seen it
making
happen.
sure it didn't go any higher.
True.
Because that's when we bought it.
Right. That's when you bought it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we knew it wasn't going to go any higher.
Some people like to set the floor. Scott and we set the ceiling.
There you go. Well, at least everybody else knows. And I think if you can't do some good deeds for other people, then what's your life all about?
I mean,
What's your life
absolutely.
for?
Well, if we hadn't got in when we did, who knows what we would have paid, right?
Think of the taxes we'd have.
Look at the justification we just made on that. You can't talk about record write-downs until you buy it at the top, right,
Y'all
Scott?
stop. This is going on the internet.
Oh, sorry, Sal. All of a sudden, Sal's going to be our straight guy.
Yeah.
All right. You make the rules for the rest of us. So.
Where was we? Oh, the upper Mississippi.
We were freezing a river.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that takes place, that, especially impacts the urea market. So, yeah. Other than that, it's kind of boring to talk about the river close.
So there's no river problems right now, depth-wise.
I wouldn't say that.
I'd say that, yeah.
Okay. So we're back to a depth issue then.
I mean, we are probably about as low as we were a year ago, really. And we've got some rains, which is good, but a lot of the U.S. is in drought too, and so not near we're not getting the runoff that we typically would get this time of year. So we're solving some of the problems, but we're not solving all of it. If we don't get significant rain over the next couple of months, we could be similar to the position we were in this time last year.
We've got some
Or fall
barges.
last year.
We've got some barges on the river right now coming up, and just the last few days watching the barge updates, I get a daily report on how those barges are tracking, and we've got good movement right now. They're coming up pretty good. What concerns me, and the reason why we made some of the buying decisions we did, was to get those barges rolling in July and August. Yeah. We keep staying dry. You get into September, the 1st of October, and that river gets lower. They'll continue to reduce the size and the draft on those barges. So the size of the tow, how many barges they put on a towboat, and then the draft. So they'll start loading them light. So we made some decisions to hurry up and get things rolling in July and August. So we've got barges coming up the river right now, and they're moving pretty good. So
You told us when this happened before that they actually had a single, like one lane.
right,
They'd have to.
The north in the north during the day,
Daylight
south
hours.
at night,
Wow.
whatever. Yeah.
But we're not to that point.
No.
they were talking about doing that down in the Memphis. I should
really?
I should have looked that up, but they were talking about going to one lane down at in the Memphis area.
I didn't realize it was that dry.
Yeah, and it could be just gets dry, or you get a channel that needs dredged or something. So there's different things that impact that, but I've not heard anything of late. And from looking at these barge reports, looks like they're moving pretty good. In fact, I think we're getting ready to push north of Memphis on some of those. So here in the next day or so, I'll be able to tell.
Wow.
How many miles they get a day?
Usually about 100, 110.
Okay.
And right now, I think our supply is good. I mean, the phosphate's probably the most concerning right now. We ended the season empty. I mean, literally, terminals empty and empty for weeks, if
For
not
miles around.
Yes, and so so we're not starting potash. On the other hand, we had plenty of potash at the end of the season, and so we're just starting with zero. So we got to, not only do we have to get all of the demand here, we got to get some cushion too, and so it's slowly getting here, but we seem to get some phosphates in the area. There's already some suppliers they're done with MAP. MAP's carrying a huge premium to DAP right now. Typically, you call that $10. Right?
Yeah.
It's 50 to 70
Wow.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's this phosphate issue. So you got MAP. They're essentially sold out of MAP. Now you've got guys that normally don't use DAP. Now they're having to buy DAP. That's making it tight for guys like us that use DAP. And this problem is not going to go away, because I think we've got the countervailing duties on phosphates. So those, which is basically a tariff that's been placed against the Moroccans, which is the largest producer of phosphates in the world. And then you've got the Russians. They are adjusting the tariff rates. So the Moroccans, their rate is going to go down. That's part of the reason why I have notes, because I can't remember these numbers. But so the Moroccans, they had basically essentially a 20% tariff on phosphates coming to the U.S. They're going to lower that, hopefully, this next month to 14.5%. The Russians, one of the Russian producers, Urochem, had a 47% duty, and Phosagro only had a 9% duty, but they're raising Phosagros to like 53%. So again,
50% pretty much says we don't want you to.
We don't
want it.
We have no Russian tons of phosphate going to come to the U.S.
And that's because of the Ukraine. Is that?
No.
This came from Mosaic, who's a domestic producer. They brought the case against.
That's right.
Basically brought a dumping case against the Moroccans and the Russians, and they won it. So
Mission accomplished.
yeah, just makes it tough to get enough phosphates here to we don't see the prices run up and stuff. So that's so hopefully we'll get enough here. And when the prices get high enough, then the Moroccans can still come and pay the duty and still make money. But right now, there's other places to go in the world. We're paying a premium to the rest of the world to try to get phosphates here. So that drives our cost up.
Thanks.
I'm not a big fan of the countervailing duties, if you can't tell.
No, that doesn't sound good for us.
So I don't, it was an election year when they got them through. The problem is they last for 5 years, and I think they run through 2026.
Sounds right.
I think it's when they run out. So we're going to have tight phosphate supplies for the next few years. And we can't produce as much here. The ore that we had here in the U.S. is starting to play out. So we don't.
In Florida
And the Carolinas, where they still mine some, but they're, like I said, it's playing out. We don't have they can't get the yields and stuff they used to from the which also impacts us on phos acid, which goes into a lot of the liquid fertilizers, the 1034Os and stuff for the world, 1137Os. So
is that why the 1034O quality got so bad? I mean, 20, 30 years ago it was such a different looking product, and then it seemed like in the last decade the quality just went terrible.
yeah, we haven't really had any quality issues. Are we using a higher grade of phos acid that we used to? No, we're getting a lower grade. I mean, as long as they're making Coca-Cola,
And so that's going to
they're going to get the food grade.
use, and it's also, I think you've seen a lot more consumption of in-furrow starters, which are going to get the higher grade phos acid, and so and the product that they make is fine. It just heat degrades it, and that's when it starts to get that slimy. You just start plugging screens and orifices and stuff. So I mean, the product is fine. It just doesn't store worth a darn. Yeah. Once it gets hot through the summer, you're gonna have it's just gonna have problems.
So what's all this mean for fall fertilizer versus spring? It sounds like if I'm a grower, it sounds like supply is going to be a big issue for 24. Is that not necessarily, or
I think the system's empty. We're working to get things back up. The river's still flowing. There's some concerns. Like I said, we're making efforts to get product in sooner rather than later. So we don't want to wait for barges to show up in the middle of October, just in time to go to the field with it. So we want to get things in early, just so we don't have problems. I mean, just thinking ahead. If it doesn't start raining, we're going to have low river to deal with. But I think with the system being empty, we've got stuff bought. It's coming, so we should be good for fall. On a P&K standpoint, we don't have a lot of demand for urea right now. There's plenty of time to get urea. Caught back up supply-wise. So, usually the fourth quarter of the year is usually a big import season for urea. That's why I think right now we see the prices running up. We're going to hold off, wait, get through river close, see what the vessel lineup is coming in for the fourth quarter, and then I think we'll see a reset on urea. I just don't think this price ran up too quick on some different things happening around the world. I don't think it's going to hold.
So what else is happening around the world? I mean, obviously we've talked about Ukraine. I mean, it just comes up all the time. But other issues that are coming up?
Yeah, I think the Russia Ukraine thing is it's always going to be there. I think it's something we gotta watch. We've got the countervailing duties on phosphate that basically takes Russia out of play on phosphate. Has nothing to do with the war, but there are other countries out there that are self-sanctioning Russia. So the
Court of public opinion.
yeah, the Germans won't do business with Russia. So you've got some German-owned fertilizer companies in the U.S. that operate in what we would call the distribution channel. They're not really producers, and they will not bring Russian product to the U.S. So that takes out a source of UAN and phosphates, and so there's self-sanctioning going on from some countries that impacts the fertilizer world. So, and Russia's still going to produce product, and it's still going to go to certain countries. If it doesn't come to the U.S., but what it does is it changes the trade flows. So we kind of get set into, we kind of know, hey, we got this product coming from this country. It always comes to the U.S., but when something disrupts that, like the Russia-Ukraine war, and getting countries that are sanctioning Russia or kind of self-sanctioning them, then that changes that trade flow, and then we have to adjust. It's like, well, we weren't used to doing that. Now we'll do this. But those are just things that
And it works
takes
to
time sometimes.
keep prices elevated. I'm not saying outlandish, but there was a reason the flows were going the way they were, right? That freight made sense, and so on and so forth. So anytime you have vessels that are crossing paths going to different places, there's inefficiencies happening, and that's reflected in price. The only other thing I think globally, we avoided a rail strike in Canada, which is where potash comes from. And so, or some of our potash, large majority for the U.S. And so that could be a real issue. Because that's grain. It just puts a hurt on things.
Is that fixed for years, or is that temporary, or we don't know?
I understand it's temporary, but
I think it's
The Band-Aid?
they've got it patched for now. Stay tuned, we'll see. But that's we had a pretty big glut of potash, so we've had some mines shut down. He talked about that strike there. It was in Vancouver. That's where Canpotex, which is the Canadian potash marketing cartel, that's where they export their tons that go to the rest of the world. So that was that could have been a big deal, and but they got that put to bed for now. I think the other thing that we see on potash, and this was talking to one of the Russian potash producers, their vessel size coming to the U.S. has been, they haven't been able to bring Panamax vessels in, which are, on potash, they're probably 70,000 tons. They've been able to bring smaller ones in, they're 35,000. So, and their vessel freight has been, I can remember back trading when, vessel freight was as low as, depending on where you were going, $10 to $40. They've been paying $124 freight to bring a vessel over to the U.S., which is just unheard of. But
Because of the smaller vessels?
I think they've had to go to smaller vessels. I'm assuming it has something to do with coming out of the Black Sea and the war.
What they're navigating.
Yeah, they didn't give me a lot of information on why. They didn't really know all the reasons. But so that's been kind of interesting to hear that they still got potash coming, but it's taking them twice as long to get it here because they're bringing basically half-size vessels. So
Wow.
So there's a lot of things that go on in the world that impact us here at the farm gate, and we didn't used to know about that stuff. If it impacted you, it was like, well, it'd be the next season. Now, just as soon as one of those things happens, our prices are up that same day.
oh yeah,
It's so there. It's kind of interesting. You try to keep your ear to the ground. We have a mix of people we buy from, whether they're domestic producers, domestic distributors, foreign producers. You want to be friends with everybody in today's market because you just never know what's going to happen. And so far it's been working for us, I think. So we feel blessed. We got a good supply. I think we've got we're in a position where we can keep our farmers, competitive with the rest of the world. So I think we're in good shape going forward.
Well, coming off of last year, whenever you all were trucking fertilizer from such distances and the farmer never knew it. I mean,
No.
the fertilizer was still in the bins, we're still loading out, still running, and you all were scrambling.
It's fun.
Oh my
so much fun.
gosh.
So we're going to timestamp this third week of August-ish. So we're coming up on harvest. Recommendations as far as what's going on as far as price-wise goes? I mean, business as usual for fall fertilizer. I mean, there's a lot of benefit to that, but obviously.
No, I mean, there's not. I mean, we're going to experience lower prices than we did a year ago at this time. Grain prices are down some.
I was going to say, you usually do a value to a
Right.
bushel of corn, and I mean, it's still that is a value.
I have not done that. We haven't come out with our pricing just yet.
Right.
But I see nothing that says, boy, I should wait till spring, even though I'm a fall fertilizer guy. No, I would go.
Yeah, normal practice is
Yes.
still normal practice. So,
Yep.
okay.
Would it work the other way? I mean, if you're normally a spring guy, would you? It sounds like there's so many global events. I mean, it just sounds like possession is so much.
I would say most years, yes. Last year, hell no.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that didn't do anything till he was ready to go to the field paid the least amount for his for all his fertilizer. And so, I think you have a business plan, stick
Yeah.
to that plan. I mean, there's certainly events that make you change the way you do things, right? But I don't see any of that right now. I think if I was a spring guy and I had the opportunity to put it on in the fall, I would, because it's done.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't rain, when we do have river issues or supply issues, it's done.
Well, there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, just because if we do have river issues and we're blessed with a good looking crop so far here in southern Indiana. We know how fast the channel gets plugged with corn. And if we do go to single lanes again or draft limitations, like you said, having your fertilizer on the ground in the fall is a good day.
Yeah, because you got to remember, grain barge is going south. Fertilizer is the backhaul to get that empty barge back north. So that's we are a function of the grain. It's the grain is the priority.
Grain's the primary. Yeah.
That's the primary.
Yeah.
We're the backhaul.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else, Ryan.
Got other points on liquids or any of that?
I hate to say it out loud and go on record, but it's almost like we could get back to see kind of the normal market fundamentals take place. We came out.
You remember what those are?
After last year, you took the fundamentals and do the exact opposite.
Which made no sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
We saw urea go down all spring.
With short
At the
supply.
same time, we were short supply, and we kept telling them we're going to run out of urea. But price was going down. Nobody wants to buy when the price is going down, and eventually we ran out of urea. Then we had to start scrambling her to find it again. From a fundamental
total opposite.
standpoint, it's like it shouldn't happen that way, but it did. So,
Huh.
but now it seems like we're back more normal as whatever. Don't ask me to define normal. So
It's the average of 5 screwed up years. Is that what normal is?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It appears the fundamentals, though, to your point, are, this happens, this should happen, and it seems to be following that train of thought. So
It does have that feeling.
yeah,
Well, good.
Which at least helps you plan and manage and make decisions.
I think the last time you guys were on, we talked about the word fundamental, that we used to use it to sound smart. Now, kind of the opposite of that now.
Yeah, we look like geniuses this past year.
Yeah, right. Right. I don't have anything else, Sal.
Well, you know what? We had supply. So thank you for all you do. I mean, I know you guys make it look easy. We don't get to see everything, but one thing we know is that you make sure the buildings are full and we can still run. And that is a major undertaking. So that's all we got. Jeff, Scott, thank you very much for joining us. Ryan, anything else?
I don't. That's
right.
another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Please like and subscribe.